this episode, we're headed to Paris. And we're speaking with Simon, who has a really interesting startup. Simon, why don't you start off by giving just a quick intro of who you are and the background of your business?
Okay, well, hello, my name is Simon Burke. I've been working in tourism since 2008. Started as a tour guide with Fat Tire Tours, and I left and dabbled in motorcycle tourism, and Fat Tire asked me to come back as their HR person, so I started hiring and training a lot of tour guides. And over COVID, well, the company shrank down to the point where my job no longer made any sense. So, we amicably parted ways, and I decided that it was I had a now or never moment to get back into motorcycle tourism and have my own business. I knew tourists would come back. It was just a matter of time. They came back earlier than I expected, which was great. And the idea struck me in the southwest of France in a region called Le Pays Basque, or the Basque region. And so that's why my business, the sidecar tour business in Paris, has a Basque name. Txango, Txango, means excursion or leisurely outing, travel by unconventional means. It's a multi-purpose word, and it kind of sounds cool too, Txango Tours. So it's a wink to the origin story of my business.
And full disclaimer, you and I both used to work with Fat Tire Tours, of course, in different locations. So you and I actually never worked together. You in Paris, I'm in Berlin. But for many years, we were in the same company. So we have a very similar kind of experience with delivering these kind of really experientially based tours.
That's exactly the right word to use to describe those types of tours. They're experiential. It's all about guest experience. I'm doing the same thing with the sidecars. I'm not pitching the novelty of the sidecar too much. It's cool, but really what I want is for people to have an excellent experience discovering Paris. It just so happens that I do it with the sidecar.
And you have a family story with the sidecar, if I'm not mistaken.
The story goes back quite a ways. So one day, I went to go visit my grandmother with my motorcycle at the time. This is my dad's mother. She was from Strasbourg. And I didn't tell her I was going to go see her with the motorcycle. So I show up, and she is just flabbergasted that I've arrived on a motorcycle. And so later that evening, she's having her schnapps, I'm having a beer, and she starts telling me all these stories about her childhood in Strasbourg and the fact that her father had a 500cc single-cylinder BSA motorcycle with a sidecar. And her fondest memories of time spent with her father was her father at the handlebars, so my great-grandfather driving the sidecar with her aunt on the back and her, my grandmother, in the bucket or in the basket or the chair, whatever you want to call it, in the sidecar. She always had very fond memories of that. And this grandmother also was a tour guide for Americans after the war in the 1940s and 50s. That's actually how she met my grandfather, who was an American stationed in France.
It's almost like tourism really has become kind of an important part of your background. I mean, it seems like so many things.
It's in the veins.
Exactly. And I mean, does that translate to the importance that you give to that experience when people come and visit you? That it's not, you mentioned that you're not selling it as, hey, this is a sidecar tour, and it's clear that it's not just a gimmick. I mean, this is something that you're really passionate about, and, you have a background in this. So
I don't really feel like just, a tour guide on the job. I love Paris, and I feel more like maybe an ambassador to the city would be. Sorry, I don't want to sound like too highfalutin, but I love it here, and I want other people that visit Paris to also love it here. The fact that my grandmother was that service-minded, she had itchy feet, she always wanted to be moving around and very social, and had this mischievous desire to constantly discover. Not necessarily, she didn't do things like all that legally either. It's actually how she met my granddad, because he was the one telling her off for doing something wrong, and then their relationship blossomed after that. just the fact that it's part of my heritage and that I still enjoy it so much, it makes every tour that I lead or every experience that I try to offer to guests, I'm giving a lot of myself. This is not just a day job for me. It's my family history, my passion. I can't imagine doing anything else.
You and I have both worked in this industry for so long, and we've seen a lot of people really take tourism and look at it from just the numbers, but we know that to have really good experiences, it's more than just looking at the numbers. It's what is that whole experience? Are you really making a connection? Are you being that ambassador to a location and helping people to really discover something more than just checking off a list of things that they want to accomplish when they visit? It's more about really kind of opening your eyes and having some kind of experience that you weren't necessarily expecting.
Part of that's where I think most of us tourism professionals get all of our satisfaction from. It's going above and beyond those expectations. Especially, we always get a little bummed when people constantly book the, big bucket list item experiences. We're like, okay, another tour of just the monuments. Okay. And then so for us to keep it fresh, we're constantly tweaking and looking for these cool little things to add and supplement to make it more than just another run-of-the-mill monuments tour or, visit of, the Eiffel Tower. It's like, well, what are the cool little secret aspects of what we're visiting? Because if we're passionate about it and we want to keep it fun for ourselves, well, that's also what ends up making it such a good experience for our guests. I think that's why the tour that I've sold the most of is the iconic Paris Monuments Tour, because it plays off of both of those aspects. It ticks all the boxes to see the big, bucket list items, Eiffel Tower, Arc de Triomphe, for example. But it's done in a unique way that's not necessarily offered in every city when people go traveling. There's thousands and thousands of food tours out there. Doesn't matter which city you're in, you'll find a food tour. But sidecar tours are, I think there's only about 60 of us across the planet doing sidecar tours. So balancing the big ticket list items with a unique way to do it, I think, is what is making that one particular tour successful.
So with that in mind, though, of this being such a unique thing to do, a lot of people aren't going to really know, can I do this? Do I have to fulfill some kind of requirement? And it seems like you've made it really easy by doing the legwork for us. So as far as regulations are concerned, as far as safety is concerned, you've done all of that heavy lifting so that people can really just come on tour and enjoy the experience with you. So walk us through, what does someone need to know about before they come on tour, and what is that experience, how's it going to unfold for them?
The first thing that they need to know is that they will not be driving. I do get people that ask me if they're going to have to drive the sidecar or can they drive the sidecar. No, absolutely not. This is a tour where the professionally licensed tour guide and driver is provided. The sidecar next to the motorcycle seats one person, and then there's a second person behind the driver, and for groups of 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we just add extra motorcycle sidecar rigs, each with its own driver. And the most important thing, because getting on and off of the motorcycle and in and out of the basket does require a little bit of mobility, ideally no flowing summer dresses, no flip-flops, and don't forget your sunglasses. But really, that's about it. It is an incredibly open and welcoming experience because you don't need to have a motorcycle license, and you don't need to be an athlete to do it. Just have decent amount of mobility in your hips and knees, and that's pretty much all that's required.
And that way you can also focus on enjoying the experience, and not have to worry about paying attention to Paris-specific driving regulations. And
that's correct. Yeah. That's exactly what makes it a good middle ground between. I'm going to use bicycle tours because that's what we know, and let's say like a big bus tour, because everybody's seen those. In a big bus tour, you will always have that filter of the bus window. Even in the open top buses, they still have windows along the side. And then on the bicycle tour, you don't have that filter, sure, but then, you have to pay attention to your bicycle and not crash into the person in front of you, or if there's people next to you, or hitting curbs and what have you. And the sidecar, it's a happy middle ground because you have that insouciance, the carefree aspect of being chauffeured, but you don't have any of the filter of a car or bus window.
You talked about creating a welcoming experience on your tour, and as you know from what I'm building with Painted Circle, one of the big pillars for me is inclusion. There's a lot of talk about inclusion in tourism and problems that we're identifying as we learn more about how our industry works, about really making inclusive businesses and making travel more equitable for more people. On your listing on Painted Circle, you've gone into a lot of detail, which I really appreciate, about how you try to create that welcoming atmosphere for all people. It's obviously important to you. I mean, how do you see inclusion in travel as something that, all of us need to be working at, more than just saying, we value inclusion? It's worth us working towards it. So where are your thoughts on how your business is helping us move the needle?
We're in the business of a mix of discovery, exploration, education, and if we close ourselves off to a customer because of whatever issue it may be, then it's a little hypocritical, right? If we're taking people on a journey to discover and explore a location, well, we can only do that with an open mind. Otherwise, we end up creating bias. So we kind of have to practice what we preach when it comes to our customers and have just as open-minded a mentality when it comes to welcoming our own guests. I mean, even though I stated that you do need a minimum kind of requirement of mobility to climb in and out of the basket, on Sunday I had a gentleman who, I forget the name of the condition, but essentially can't feel his feet. It's like his wife told me it's like walking on, like you have constant pins and needles. So he couldn't give the push required to get himself up out of the basket. So, I figured, okay, well, this will be my workout for the day. So I helped him out of the basket each time. There's also, I came up with a few different ways to get in and out of the sidecar. There is a step. The windscreen is high enough to serve as a point of, like a grasping point. So there's that traditional step in and hold onto the windscreen to get in, but there's also what I like to call the sit and slide, or the sit and spin. So if I put the bike in first gear to keep it from rolling back and forth, they can just sit on the back of the trunk area of the sidecar, and then they can spin around with just lifting their legs and hold onto the windscreen. I put a video of it on the Instagram account for the business, and it's my mom's preferred method for getting in and out of the sidecar. She's in her 60s. Knowing all of the different ways to handle your equipment or how to teach your guests how to handle that equipment, I think is a great way to show to be as inclusive as possible, even if there is equipment that will, just by the nature of it, have limitations. It will impose limitations on your guests, but you can push those back as far as possible by understanding how to adapt.
I really appreciate that kind of effort, and part of that is my own background working in the industry and not wanting to turn people away from participating because of some kind of limitation that we could find a solution for. And so there's a lot of people out there that they don't perceive that they would be welcome. And so it's really great that you are taking so many efforts to try to identify any kind of friction point and mitigate that the best way as possible. If someone is wondering, can I do this? Like, can I come on tour? What do you recommend? Should they get in contact with you in advance and see if they can come up with some kind of plan?
Yeah, most definitely. Because just like you, I don't like saying no. It's not a useful word in our vocabulary. So yes, I'd much rather someone reach out. I put it on my website as well. Any questions or comments, any hesitation, don't ever hesitate to reach out and ask. Because some people have preconceived notions about what is possible with the sidecar, and so far I haven't turned anybody away that has reached out. And people reach out relatively often. And I always say, yeah, don't worry about it. We can do this, we can adjust this or that, and we always come to some sort of solution.
We're both doing these new ventures, and we've both come from having been in this industry for quite some time. I think you and I might have actually started around the same time, around 2007, 2008.
Yeah, 2008 for me.
Yeah, so, we've got all these years of experience in tourism, but we're both trying these new ventures now, and it's an exciting thing to do, but it's also a little bit scary because there's a lot of headwind. I think something that we both share, though, is that we've been in this industry and we know that it is competitive, but it's also something that there are many of us who take it very personally, and sometimes that doesn't always come across to people when they are traveling. Because if you're going online and you're trying to research what is it that you're going to do, there are a lot of places that you can find just those check marks, of, hey, I want to see this and go here and check these things off the list. And we've kind of made it a way to travel without really interacting with people. You can go someplace and see what you want to see and you're there, but the experience can remain a little superficial. And so I think you and I are both doing very different projects, but one of the big goals here is to, make tourism personal. It's so much fun to show people around and open their eyes and hopefully give them a connection to the place that we're so passionate about and the history and the culture and the people who are there. And so I really enjoy talking with you about this because hopefully people see that when they come on tour with you, this is not just, hey, let's do this and check it off the list. It's, no, let's go on this tour. It's going to be really amazing. And we're going to have an experience that very few other people get to have. And it is a genuine experience that's going to, you're not just going to be there. Like, you're actually going to experience the city.
Yeah. And the deeper the experience, the more someone will carry that with them afterwards, and that's just always so fantastic when we get someone who talks about the experience that we've given them, years down the road, or even people that I had on tour yesterday, they took a Fat Tire tour 10 years ago and still remembered a bunch of details. That was the coolest thing ever. I love hearing that kind of stuff. It makes it all the more possible with these tiny groups that I take out on the sidecar tour. It's a ratio of 2 to 1 when it comes to guests to driver. So it is an incredibly personal and almost intimate experience with my guests, and I love it. I've always preferred small groups, even when I was with Fat Tire, and it becomes. It ends up being just so pleasant being able to weave a story and kind of this, deep understanding of the city, so that afterwards they don't just know a few details about a monument or a site, but it's like, they get a taste of the soul of the city. Which is ultimately what I'm gunning for. It's so much more fun to pitch the city that way and to create stories that give someone that, real deep understanding.
Simon, thank you so much for sharing your passion about Txango Tours and about Paris. And we're going to put a link to your page on Painted Circle and to your website. And if anyone's interested, there will be ways for you to contact to get more information and go on tour. Really cool experience.
Thanks. It was great talking to you again, Charles.